Howdy, everyone. Matt here. I got a question for you. What do you tell to that next generation of people, those high schoolers and whatnot, about physical therapy and getting into the profession? Do you tell them, hey, it's something great and wonderful and amazing? Or are you like, no, there ain't no future to it? Let's talk about that. So let me introduce myself. My name is Matt. I am Matt the PT, coming at you with another video on another topic of something in the physical therapy world. And that is talking to those young kids, those high schoolers, college kids that talk about going into physical therapy. They say, I want to do good and help people, to help them get better, to help them feel better, to do all these wonderful things. And that older generation of people, which is typically them, are telling them, no, it's terrible, don't do it. And this comes from, like in Facebook groups. I see this most often in Facebook groups, that somebody's like, hey, I'm a high school senior. Oh, I'm in college. I'm about to finish up, this year of college, and I want to go into physical therapy. I want to know, is it a good position? Is it something good to go into? And it never fails. Most of the comments are so negative. No, this is the worst thing you can do. It's just terrible. Your debt is so high and you never can find a good job and you can't and it's just dying. That's what a lot of them like to say. It's just dying and going away. And now I will say, yes, the student loan debt is very high. Gets people coming out of school $150,000 in debt. I believe that's around the average or so last time I looked. And the wages aren't matching what enough to really pay back those loans. But I want to tell you this story and how I look at a lot of this. So when I was a young boy, I grew up in an area that was very blue collar. So people who did unskilled labor, who worked in like factories, distribution, and you did have skilled labor, people who worked in trades. And so often, going around these people with my parents, I can't tell you really any of these people who actually ever went to college. And the people who did go to college were the ones that owned those businesses, who worked in the offices, who drove the nice cars, who had the nice houses. Those are the ones who went to college. And so they wanted, you want the best for your children. You want the best for my kids. But you look to them and say, you need to go to college to get you a degree so you can get you one of them good jobs like them. So that's what was put in our minds. And I would talk about trades as well, that talking to people who worked in the trades, that it often wasn't that portrayed as something very good. They're saying, oh, you're busting your back all the time. You're coming home so tired. Your body's wearing out. Your knees hurt. Your back hurts. Your hip hurts. And it's just so hard. It's just, you don't want to be doing this. And I'm going to tell you, I heard this through my college years. So going back to that factory to work and still talking to these people, telling me, finish school. You need to finish school and you get out and you get you in them good jobs. And that's what was told to me. And I know many of my friends, and I hear this so often from younger generations. They were told to go to college to get these good jobs and to do these things by the older population. Now, we're reaching a thing now where, again, student loan debt is very high. It's very hard for younger people to really start their lives because it's like, hey, I can't find a job that really pays an adequate amount. Now, that's a discussion for another time about really what that is, because it seems like most people, when they get upset about wages and stuff like that, they think people want to be making like, $1,000 an hour just so they can live in a mansion and work, 6 minutes a week. Like, no, you don't want to struggle. Like that's the thing. You want to have a reliable car. You want to have a house in a nice area that it's not falling apart, that it's safe, that it's comfortable to live in. You want to have these little, things. I like to be able to go out and eat. I want to take a vacation. It's those little things is really what we all want. But I see so often from that same generation of people who were saying, don't do this, don't go into these trade jobs, don't do in these labor jobs, go to college, are the same ones now going, well, why didn't you could have been an electrician or a welder, be making $100 an hour. They're just so entitled and all that. You were the ones telling us not to do that. They seem to have forgotten. And that's really what I am picking up so much from those comments online. That it is somebody making this statement about how bad the profession is, that things are just dying and it's just terrible because they are coming at it from a place of emotion. They are upset about where they are. And so I'm going to tell the next generation to not do this thing because of how I felt. This was the same feelings that those people 30 years ago were telling myself and my friends and those around us to not do these things because of an emotion that they felt at that time. Now, flash forward again, 30 years, and they're going, well, why aren't you doing that? That's how I really look at this. Because these people, again, they're upset. And they're can be biased to it. I actually just saw somebody post something about that. They went to some conference. They're not an APTA fan. And they're like, I went to this conference, APTA is there. It's just the APTA is just dying. It's like, I don't believe it is. I don't take it that it is. You know, this person is just looking at things that, you know, a confirmation bias. I'm only looking at the things that confirm me. Yeah, he's at, and he never even said what conference it was. It's like, yeah, and you're at this little no-name thing. Yeah, the APTA probably won't be there. But it doesn't mean those things that you're saying. You're coming at that from a place of emotion. You're upset. You're angry about it. So, yes, you are going to say those things. However, they don't play the factor in it. And it really comes down to, again, you can't predict the future on this stuff. They can't. They can't. The older generation saying these things about these things being bad or these things being good, I'm going to be straight up honest, are terrible at predicting the future. Terrible about predicting the future. I know when I talk to students, this is how I go about it. And I don't know how you do it, but I am honest with them about it. I've had the opportunity several times to go talk to high schoolers about the world of physical therapy, and I let them know. Here are some things that people are going through right now. The cost of school is very high. It is. It's very high. But I'm going to tell you what. These kids go, oh, we know. We're prepared for that. So I was shocked. They didn't look at me with these like deer in the headlight look. Or be like, oh my gosh. They're like, no, we're ready for it. We know how to handle it. And I will tell kids about, if you're like, hey, if you're wanting to do these things, go the cheapest route. Luckily, you know, there are schools now that do like dual enrollment in high school. Get you a bunch of your undergraduate hours done while you're in high school. Go to community college and get those classes. I also full-heartedly support, like, do we actually need 4 years of undergraduate? Honestly, when you go, do you need 4 years of it? They can really take those first 2 years and combine them into one, honestly. And there is a push from some people in colleges to say the 4-year degree is just a tradition. It does not mean anything. It does not need to be 4 years. And I will tell you, I've talked to people that are working with PT schools, and they are saying, we understand the cost of school is very high. We are working to lower that. And they're usually at the public institutions. They said the private ones don't care. They'll charge whatever they want. But the public ones, are saying we're trying our best to lower that cost because we don't want our students coming out of school with a massive amount of debt. We understand that. So there is that understanding that, yeah, the cost of school is too high. And I'm going to be honest, the PT programs don't set the price. It's the colleges that set the price. APTA doesn't set the price of PT school. It's the colleges that set the price of it. Why does nobody ever talk about that? I think we probably need to talk about that. But everyone is blaming these other people. It's like it's the colleges, you know. And again, it's that older generation who elected officials and things like that wouldn't allow you to, you know, default on student loans, and they're the ones running the school. That's a whole other talk in and to itself. But these kids are saying, yeah, we know. We're ready. We know how to handle that. I'm very excited to see those things. When talking about the wages and things like that. They're like, yeah, we understand. We're looking at those things. We understand. And I do, and I will say, who knows what's going to happen in 10 years? What's going to happen in 20 years? I saw somebody that posted something like orthopedic physical therapy is going to be dead in 5 years. Again, most of the time when people say that stuff like that, they're wanting to stir controversy. That's all it is. Let me stir up this thing. It's like sportscasters or, financial analysts. Let me stir this thing up and make this real controversial talk. And so a lot of people talk about it, but who's going to remember in 5 years? That's the thing. Who's going to come back in 5 years and be like, see, you were wrong? They're going to be like, I didn't forgot what I even said, or they deleted the post or anything like that. I kind of feel the same thing about when, somebody demonizes an exercise or movement. Oh, if you keep squatting, it's going to destroy your knees. Okay, if you're not going to come back to them when you're 60 because they're going to forget. They don't know who you are from Adam. They don't know who you are. And if, and then if you came back and you had a knee pain, oh, yeah, see, I was... No, we know there's a lot of things can happen. And again, a lot of these people as well that talk negatively about the profession, if you want to kind of crap talk them, they were the ones jumping on about Vision 2020. So it shows how well, again, people are at predicting the future. But I will say, this younger generation, they're smart. They know what's up. They know how to handle these things. And if you're going to talk to them, somebody's in high school or middle school or college, and they're going to talk about, I want to go to physical therapy. Don't come at it from a place of emotion, saying it's just terrible and horrible. It's just going to suck. But say, hey, I'm going to let you know it's a great, rewarding field. I love what I do. I love the fact that I can help so many people. I can help them, that I'm a part of the healthcare system, that I can direct people. I can help people myself. I can do those things. I really, really enjoy it. And people like having that. I touch so many people in my surrounding area, whatever this is saying, to help so many of them. But when I talk to them, I say, hey, yes, I'm going to let you know the cost of school is pretty high. Go the cheapest route. You don't have to go to the, this number one ranked program, which the rankings are stupid. You don't need to go to the program. Go to the one that's nearby, this cheapest one that you can find. Go through school the cheapest way that you can. Save your money. When you get out, start working, find those jobs that, make your money. Set yourself up, work with a financial advisor. I talked a little bit about that before. Set those things up, but that you understand it. And I will tell them, hey, with what I do as well, it's pretty stable. I always say, we're all getting older. We're all getting hurt. I'm always going to be needed. There's going to be a need for it. If I got laid off tomorrow, I can, by the end of the day, probably find a job in a hospital, in a nursing facility, home health, something. I can find something. If you ever watch Financial Audit, it's my guilty pleasure of watching that show. And the host, Caleb Hammer, did talk about this, that he said a big issue that people have is they think jobs are beneath them. And he said there's sometimes you just need to get a job to pay your bills. And I understand with what I do, I can get a job. I can get something to pay bills. And actually, before I ever got married, my future father-in-law, my now father-in-law, asked me, how are you going to provide for my daughter? And I said, no matter what, if we up and moved across the country, I can most likely walk into a hospital and say, hey, I have a physical therapy license in this state. Do you have a position? And there's places that are saying, yes, we need somebody. And as well, I would say this, even if maybe you don't even think that physical therapy is great because of whatever, tell that next generation to really look at what trends are going on. Because there are jobs now that didn't exist 20 years ago. Who would have thought this right here? YouTube. Who could have thought that was a career at one point? Of talking about anything and everything under the sun. Who would have thought that was a job? Again, that older generation would have told you that we're dumb. How right were they on that? That this is a job. There's going to be things available down the line that were not available now. So look at those trends. And as well, I once was doing a job career fair, And there were some like these old, it was like nuclear engineer, something. It was very, very, very specific area. And they were saying, yeah, we're trying to bring those, new grads in because we're all getting older. Everyone in this field is in their 60s and 70s. There's no one to physically replace us as we die out. They're not going to be here. And so those jobs, they're like, we need people. So to tell those young people, hey, if you want to do this, be aware of these things. Make the good decisions. Talk to people that are not coming at it from a place of emotion, that are actually coming at it with like, hey, here are the trends, here are the things about that, who are coming forth with those things and talking to you about those things, that are being honest. And they say, hey, if they see that and say, hey, physical therapy maybe isn't the best thing, say, hey, do your research. Spend that time. You've got time to learn and see what you want to do. But there are jobs that are probably going to be created in the next 10 to 20 years that don't exist now. You could possibly find that. So, anyway, if you enjoyed the video, please hit that thumbs up button. Please consider subscribing to the channel. As I always say, it doesn't cost you a copay. And I want to hear your thoughts and opinions and beliefs. Let me know. What do you say when you talk to those younger people? Are you straight up honest with it? Or you just vent to them? Are you just venting all your emotion there out to them? Or do you say, hey, no, let's sit down and we'll have a chat. We'll talk about these things. So let me know about that down in the comments below. And like always, take care of yourself. Take care of your patients. I'll see you next time.